oh, is this all ending? And then when they come out, it was a big slagging match.
Hey, how's it
Hello.
going?
Hello.
Good to see you. Good to see you. Come in
Yeah.
through. Welcome to the Art Club Market. Well, you see, I was searching up Ian Hamilton, right? I had to see who I was going to be chatting to, and all I could find was a footballer, so all I've got is football questions. We'll have to talk about soul, unfortunately.
Oh, must we?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, go on, a bit tedious, but carry on then.
Well, okay. It's a little bit unorthodox. We're sat in a cafe. It's not quite open, so we've had to make our own cuppas this evening, but that's all right. Perfect time for a cuppa.
Cheers, everyone.
Cheers, everyone. Ian, tell me about your first Northern Soul night and what that experience was.
My first Northern Soul night that I can actually remember is going to a club called the Compass Club, and they had a funk disco, an ordinary soul disco, and on the top floor they had a Northern Soul disco. I then sort of really discovered proper Northern Soul on that top floor in that club, and the resident DJ they had for that summer season was a guy called Keith Minchell.
Yes, okay,
You heard of that
I've
name?
heard about Keith.
Keith Minchell was
he did the Golden Torch, right?
Yeah, that's right, yeah. At that time, I'd never been to a proper Northern Soul all-nighter.
Right.
So that was probably the first gig that I went to with a proper Northern Soul DJ.
I see. But I heard you were going to youth clubs a little bit before that.
Youth clubs were the original sort of influence, if you like.
Yeah.
The youth club that I went to, which catered for sort of like 10, 12-year-olds, so on, which was based at a school. They had a guy who had a little collection of records he used to bring along, and he used to play all his Motown records. But the Motown records he used to bring that weren't the ones that you heard on the radio. And it was like, hey, what's this? This is a bit different, this, you know what I mean? The other thing at that time was there were radio stations which weren't mainstream, and you could hear that kind of sort of vibe. Obviously Luxembourg was the well-known one, but you had Radio Caroline and you had Radio London. You could listen to these DJs, the young Tony Blackburn and Emperor Roscoe and people like that.
They were
and
really
they were playing
pushing those
all
sounds.
These cool soul sounds.
Yeah,
so that's how it all
I love how
started.
far back you go. So did you ever
So that
make
would be
it
the late
to...
60s.
Yeah, so late 60s.
Late 60s,
So did you ever make
early
it to the
70s.
Torch?
I was aware of the Torch, but unfortunately I was too young and didn't have the connections. I didn't have a bigger brother or older brother or anyone like that to get me there. I started proper at Wigan Casino. So
what's something about Wigan Casino that people don't often talk about?
Well, it was just...
Stories from the casino.
Can you imagine, sort of, once you got into this music, you had to go to places like this, of halls of worship, to hear the sound and get a real true feel, the electric atmosphere that you would get. There was the smell, there was the sounds, you know. I mean, the place was a grubby, old, big building. You know, I mean, you had rockers going in there before you went in. And then when they come out, it was a big slagging match between us and them. And then they would go, but yeah, and then we'd go in. And when you walked in, it was like, I'm here now. Bearing in mind that to get there, I had to hitchhike.
Have you had any nightmare journeys?
I had to hitchhike. No, lucky for me, I didn't encounter any weirdos, but I went with my mates, and whoever's turn it was, they would get in first. And then it was a matter of whoever picked you up. You hoped that they would be not weird, and you hoped that they would sort of like not talk too much and sort of want to know too much, and you just sort of get to where you want to go, and then you'd walk into Wigan, get in the bars, queuing up, hopefully getting in, and then you find your respective place, because everyone had a particular place where they would go.
I've heard about them.
And then you'd have the crowds, the Welsh guys,
and then the
would
Stoke
go and
boys.
say hello, and then you'd have another lot from Stoke, or another lot, you know, from Manchester.
And what table were you on?
So you'd have the Hertfordshire sort of lot, from Hemel, from Letchworth, Bedford, Rushden, you know, all around that area. So they'd have a bit of Northants thrown in as well. Although a lot of the Northants lads decided that they liked it better at the Mecca. Some people tended to think as Wigan being more commercial Northern Soul because of the Winstanley influences. You know, and they would go to the Mecca because of Levine's discoveries and Colin Curtis.
And they were playing much more of the progressive modern side, am I right?
Well, they didn't initially, But then, yeah, that came in, which is more of the Curtis influence, because he picked up on more modern sort of stuff. So, yeah, the Wigan people tended to be a bit more sort of like the classic 60s Northern Soul. But I liked it Wigan, I liked the vibe, and obviously you also had Mr. M's, so you had that, which played just that era, and probably a little bit earlier. So when certain DJs on that you didn't want to listen to in the main room, I used to go up the stairs and then go into there and catch up.
I heard someone describe Mr. M's as where the men go, and the main hall was where the boys go.
Yeah, probably, I don't know. But you go with your taste, don't you? So I tended to spend a lot of time in Mr. M's. As I say, I'd come down for Richard's spot and have a listen to what his new discoveries were that were being played. I mean, that's the other fantastic thing about that time. Things were being discovered every week. You were hearing things and then they would get hammered that night. Sometimes it'd work, sometimes it wouldn't. Yeah.
How does that compare to nowadays? I'm assuming that you've gone throughout sort of all of that period, never leaving the soul scene. You've always been on.
No, I did have a sabbatical.
Yeah.
I did leave it when I got married.
Yeah.
And I went out of it. And the reason why was when I started DJing, which was like late 75, then I went through to the 1980, so I did 5 years DJing. I found a lot of my friends were sort of getting married. Some were getting into jazz funk. Some of my friends drifted away, and when that happened, for a little while, it got a bit disillusional, because you thought, well, strangely enough to say it now, is this all ending? Is this it?
Yeah. And what was it that brought you back? What inspired you to come back?
Well, it was just maybe they had kids. Some of the people I said who got married, and they then decided to start coming back out again. So there was a re-revival. The media as well. All of a sudden people could get their vinyl tunes on CDs, and there was a big explosion of compilation albums coming out and CDs, and people started listening to stuff that they hadn't heard for years. A lot of it was digitised, so it was a fantastic sort of sound quality. And that kind of rekindled my interest in sort of listening, buying records, and I'm afraid, sadly, I just got suckered into it again, full on. You know what I mean?
I found a little photo of you.
Oh right.
And I want you to tell me a little bit about it. It's just on Instagram.
Just have a quick.
Is that you?
Yeah.
And I feel you're the one on the right hand side.
That's me.
Yeah.
That's Mick Smith. That gig was the Addison Howard Park in Kempston, which is about half a mile from where I live. You know Mick Smith, yeah, Tony Warrett, who no longer with us now. He was a playmate.
Okay.
I used to play up the park with him.
Oh.
Yeah. That's Frank Criscolio. Now, I believe that he's had Danny Duggan to DJ from Dublin. Danny and Frank were a DJ couple.
I see.
And they did my engagement.
Oh, never.
They did my engagement disco.
I love that.
Right. Now he lives, I don't know where in Ireland he lives.
Yeah.
But Danny, I think, lives in Dublin, and he used to do Sleepless Nights.
Yeah.
Well, Danny is from Bedford.
Oh, I see.
From
Right, and then moved to Dublin.
And he moved to Dublin.
Oh, right. Okay.
So that's Frank. He's Italian.
Yeah.
As you can see. Yeah. The Italian lad. And that's the other bloke I used to hitchhike with, Stuart Green. Yeah, we used to call him Groover.
I've loved hearing about your journey throughout the 70s and early 60s.
Yep.
I have a really interesting thing I want to hear from you is, imagine the soul scene in 100 years. What is something that you would like to leave as a message for someone that would be getting into soul music in 100 years?
Well, the main thing I've noticed about this particular music is it's ageless, it's timeless. You know, I mean, it's sort of, it's full of fervour and passion, and it just stays fresh. And that is the one thing that I've found. You know, consider that I've been collecting 50 years, and there's records, maybe one or two in here that I've been playing for that long, but they sound as good now as they ever did. And I just believe that will remain the way. You know, what it is about some sort of music, it does age, but this music doesn't age. You know, it's there for teenagers. You know, for people who've got energy. It's got passion. You know, it's just something about it. You know, and so that's what I would say is that we discovered this music. The Americans fell out of love with it and left it to us. We found it, we
and now
nurtured
they want it all back.
And they do now. A lot of them do want it back.
They do.
And they're you know, besides the fact that some of it is worth a lot of money, they missed it. You know, luckily we found a few of the old artists, and it's been nice for them. But basically, yeah, all I would say is, in 100 years' time, you know, this stuff shouldn't be in a bank vault. It shouldn't be stuck in a picture frame. It should still be played. You should still be able to hear it, and hopefully, you know, it'll be appreciated as it always has been.
Oh, well, cheers to that.
There you go.
Cheers to that. I think that was a great answer. Thank you so much, and I'll see you guys on the next episode of Cup of Soul.